Welcome back to the program. Well, let's tell you this. Carnival 1972 was a standout year in Trinidad and Tobago's festival history, not just because of its postponement from February to May in response to a polio outbreak. It was also the year that Ray Holman revolutionized Panorama with his groundbreaking composition, Pan on the Move. 50 years later now, the story of the song's creation, the professional challenges it created for Mr. Holman, and the ways in which the piece became a turning point in steel band history are all being showcased in a brand new documentary that premiered on March 13th. A collaboration between Mark Loquan and Thengnik 22, I hope I'm getting that right, Gerelle Forbes. The seed for the documentary was planted not long after Mr. Holman released the 2020 album First Love. Mr. Loquan knew well the significance of the song. To help us commemorate that and celebrate it, both gentlemen are here with us this morning, Mark Loquan and Ray Holman. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Morning, Mark.
Good morning, Ray. Good morning, TNT.
All right, so you want to go first, Mr. Loquan?
Well, I mean, this song, I know Ray brought out his album First Love in 2020, and listening to Pan on the Move on that album, which, I mean, most people knew in the Pan world as the first song that was composed and arranged by a Pan man for Panorama. I mean, that is the intellectual side of it. But I guess calling up Ray and just picking up the phone and say, Ray, teach me the chords of this song. We sat down in his garage. He was teaching me the progressions and, of course, telling me the whole story of Pan on the Move. And I think that actually stimulated me the next morning to call Ray and say, Ray, but this story is so rich. I don't think we could just let this, get ignored. Let's do a talk about this. You talk about it, and of course, Bugsy has to be in it because Bugsy was, learning under Ray at the time from 14 years old to 19 years old, when Ray actually did the song at 28 years old and created this rebellious change at the time, and he could tell you about it. But that is how it all started, and we did the song as well in his living room. An acoustic version is in the documentary, and Ray and Bugsy talked about the history themselves, which I thought was interesting. And then Gerelle Forbes, who had worked with me in the past, she was asked to produce and direct the documentary, and Gerelle took it further. She went and talked to Alvin, who did the lyrics, singing Diane, who sang the tune, put together all the images and the whole show, and thanks to Gerelle as well.
Yes. So, Mr. Holman, you want to come in here?
Well, firstly, just to say a million thanks to Mr. Mark Loquan for his enterprising move to document this historical fact. I mean, when he spoke to me firstly about it, it took me by surprise because nothing was further from my mind than doing a documentary on Pan. But the more he spoke about it, the more I realized how important it was to have it done. Because this is history, and it would be a shame if we just allowed it to go over the heads of everyone, particularly the young people who really would have no idea what Pan on the Move was, So I grasped the opportunity to do it. And what was so good is that we had Bugsy Sharp, who was on the band at the time, a young guy, and they went through all the nervous tension of doing this new tune for the first time, going against all that had been done before. And all the young guys at the time who were in the band, this was a tremendous experience for them. Not that they knew all of the shenanigans that were taking place. They had no idea of all the intrigue and problems that we had. And to me, it was important to have us play together with Mark on his guitar. It's lovely acoustic guitar, which I love, And I like the intimacy of it. I wanted it, It was so wonderful to sit in my living room where I wrote the song in my bedroom, but I would come out and play it in the living room. So it was like recreating the whole scene. We didn't go in a studio to do this. Right here where it was conceived. So that's what I loved about it too. The truthfulness to the story, the originality, and I have to compliment Mark on the idea. They say ideas rule the world. And the fact that we could bring it to reality, this was not easy to do, as Mark would tell you. This took maybe almost 2 years, I think, Mark, no?
Yeah, about 1.5.
Yes, yeah. And I remember when we were doing planning the first audio recording, he said he would have it. He said, okay, we'll do it, and then in 2 weeks it's the same. Maybe it might not be as short as that, just the audio part. The audio part took us a long time. We had problems in mixing it, the bass, a lot of problems, technical problems. And I told Mark, I said, don't worry about the time. As it turned out, if everything had worked according to plan, it would have been ready in 49 years. So as it turned out, 50 years is better, So everything worked to the good of the project. And Gerelle Forbes, whom is a wonderful young lady, and incidentally, she had sung with me for some years. So we had a nice rapport, and she was very thorough in her research. Now, what was wonderful is that I never met Singing Diane. I never met her, I never spoke to her. So Gerelle found her and brought her onto the documentary, which was wonderful, hearing her speak about it. And then my good friend Alvin grew up, I'm looking out the window, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 houses apart from me. So the composer of the music and the writer of the lyrics lived 4 houses apart. We both went to Queen's Royal College. So that is another thing. It was like a family thing, He living right up the road, taught him the song, and we're going through the lyrics and Pan and the Move, and I always had that. I thought that would have been a good title for Pan and the Move, because in those days, Pan, we didn't play panorama as we play it now, judging on the stage only. You were judged all along the drag. So it was Pan and the Move, rolling, and Pan and the Move, this idea to write original music for panorama. So I hope that we manage eventually to get us into the schools, as Mark had suggested. It might have been a good thing to do, to have it in the schools for young people, because too much of our history has been lost. Too much of the music has been lost. All of those panorama arrangements from maybe the 70s and the 80s, a lot of them have been lost. I think when TTT changed over, there was some change, and a lot of the tapes got destroyed either I think they might have been intentionally destroyed, which is really a real shame. So we lost a lot of the music then. So the fact that we could keep this one was very, very, very important. And I don't know what to say, God had a hand in this, because everything just seemed to come together at the right time. And the documentary, when I looked at it, I couldn't believe how well it was done, And it coincided with my being awarded a doctorate. So everything just came together, and I can't tell you how happy I am to have this project behind me, and to enjoy it, and you're getting calls from all over the world. People say, I viewed it, and a guy called me from Australia, he said, I viewed it 3 times. It was so enjoyable. So that is kind of heartwarming, and I hope that Mark feels some sense of achievement, that his idea, took such root and came up so successfully.
So Mark, when are we going to be able to see it?
Well, it's available for free on YouTube right now on my own channel. Anybody could Google or YouTube it and look up Pan on the Move, Ray Holman, and you will find it. So it's there. It's there for free, for use, education, teaching students. I hope the entire global Pan community views it, because the I mean, one thing is to talk about this song, and I don't think Ray knew that he would create such a ripple effect, because, without that rebellious start, we would not have had the Bugsy doing his own tunes for decades, and the Woman Is Boss, This Feeling Nice, and all of these songs. And then you had others joining in, the Ken Fillmore, Pan by Storm, and Musical Volcano by Robbie Greenidge. And you had all of these, and even the young arrangers, Ahmed Samaru and Sion Gomez. So I hope we come back to that, and I hope it's viewed, not only in schools, but the Pan community, because, I mean, what this said to me, Ray, is that we can have a brain, as you say. We do have the talent. The pan was invented through and voiced a certain way for music, and there's no reason why we can't compose and arrange our own music as a pan community. So I hope to see more of that coming out from the schools and the pan community.
Yeah, you think Ray, I mean, somehow it was, what is called it, serendipitous, that, so you were working on this at the time when the university came around, I don't want to say finally, came around to recognize you in the way that happened a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it was a nice coincidence, as I said, that everything came together at the same time, and hopefully it will inspire more people. When people look at it and they see all the trouble that I had to endure, and the word, ostracism is a really good word. We were fighting, as I said, for turf. I wasn't fighting, but people who held sway, they felt threatened. And I suppose it's normal, felt threatened, but the thing is that I didn't allow it to get into my mind, into my space, So let us hope that it will be an inspiration to many other young composers, as it had been in the past, and Mark being part of that chain. So we hope that it will continue and it will grow and flourish, so the pan will have something to be proud of when you look back over the years. Just as we're looking back now, we could say, well, look at so many young people have come up and listen to what they produced. And that is the aim, to keep it moving.
And Mark, let me just tell you this, that I told this to Mr. Holman when we spoke about this thing a couple of months ago when he was cited for that honorary PhD, that that moment had something to do with my career in journalism. That's how it started, because and I mean, let me pay some tribute to him here now. The late, great Errol Pilgrim was a political reporter in the Express at the time. I was 19 years old, knocking on the doors and not getting any responses. And they put him on the features desk that week, and they told him, go and interview this fellow who want to go and create your own music for Pan. And he told me, come along with him. I asked to come with him. I used to just be hanging around the Express at the time. And he went to interview Ray Holman. He used to ride a motorbike, and I'm on the back of the motorbike. And while he was doing the interview, I sat and made my own notes. And then I wrote up something and showed it to him afterwards. And he said, but this is as good as anything I've seen from a young person. And that started the means by which I began to get a look in at the Express and started to write. So that,
wow. You didn't know that story.
You are part of the story too.
But certainly, when I look back at it, yes.
Nice, man. Nice.
This is great.
So, well, I mean, so we talked about that when a couple of months ago when you up for this award, and so I'll go back to what was happening at the time and the tumult, you say, and the struggles you had and difficulties for people to accept the idea that an arranger could write his own music and submit it for Panorama as a Panorama entrant.
Well, I suppose people had become accustomed. And I myself, I know Sparrow and Kitchener were the foremost composers of music that could be played on the pianos. So you have that every year for years, and I myself contributed to it in no small way. So to have me come and say, well, all that I did before, I'm going to change that now. I'm going to take a departure from it. So to most people, it really didn't sit right. You know, they couldn't really conceive of it because, you know, it's like you get brainwashed into something. How you remove that from the person's psyche? This is what was happening. In addition to which, the foremost composers at the time, but Kitchener and Sparrow at the time, they saw it as a threat to their hegemony, as I have to put it. It was like, you know, it's like stay in your place, you know, just stay in your section, stay in your lane. You can't step out of your crease to do that because you're distracting from what we expect the public to know, that we are the ones doing this thing. And here you come out, you want to upset the apple cart, throw the apples in the ground. So it really created even in the pan world, at first, they were okay with it, you know, because they thought that Gonzalez had been the most popular band at the time. So they thought that allowing me to do my own music there would be a way of, one band would be eliminated there. We would have no chance, so that's okay, let them do it. So at the first meeting, it was unanimous, the agreement was unanimous that let them do their own children. Then they started to put a lot of conditions down. But when it appeared in the preliminaries and not final, which was simultaneous, you know, and we tied for first place with Solo Harmonites, who were the winner, we were the joint winners of Panorama in 1971. So we got the same result in 1972, preliminaries, not final. That is when they started to kick off us. And, you know, though this is an advantage and we can't allow that happen, you know, it's all sort of silly arguments began to spring up, you know. So that was kind of surprising to me from the pan world, who you thought would be behind it. I was not surprised at the reaction from the Calypsonians, but from your own people who you're trying to help, as I put it, to liberate. They now not seeing it, they're just seeing a narrow, you know, well, if they lose, if this band were to win, and, you know, so the whole thing got out of hand. And it stayed out of hand for many years. Out of hand, but as I said, I was not deterred. So I kept on. I know what I was doing. I know you could shoot the messenger, but you can't kill the idea. So I wasn't really worried about it. And then when, as I said, it was the Sharp King, he followed it right away. He realized that, you know, this was something that was a career, but being a career for him too. So, and all the young guys in the band at the time, they all went along with it. The ones who were a little concerned with maybe the older heads,
yes,
and some of them really, well, no, I can't say some of them, one of them, who seemed to be like a Kitchener manager, like he was a manager for Kitchener, or you know, a great supporter. He didn't want Kitchener to lose that, I don't know, to lose that prominence. Kitchener can't lose prominence. Kitchener is the greatest of all time. So it was really silly. I think it was, you know, jealousy is a cancer, you know, a cancer being mind. I think that's what it was, you know.
And a couple of years after that, but I'd gone to Toronto, and you came to Canada that Caribana year with a band called Pandemonium, and you were on the road in Canada. I was there again watching that.
Yeah, Pandemonium. Well, I didn't continue there immediately. The first year, you know, the band was a young band,
yes,
a few months old. So I didn't think they would have been able to do justice to music. So in the third year, we started and we kept on until the end of King for me in 1983. So say from 1995 to 83, there's a lot of music they got there and played it well. So it kept going and then started to spread. And I was so happy that other people took it up. So when a band playing its own does well, I feel I'm a part of it. I feel happy. I'm happy with them, and however I could help them, I will do so. So the future, we don't know what the future holds, but I think Pan and Moon will stand out like a beacon, you know, beacon into calling young arrangers to and even not so young ones. It's never too old to learn.
Yes.
But you have something that you can do. Just you have to apply it. I mean, it's not easy work. Not everyone has the talent, I admit as well, to do that. But those who have even an inkling of it should really apply themselves. Don't be lazy. Get up and do it.
All right, let me ask you. We have a minute and a half or so left. So Mark Loquan, what's next for you, man, with these kinds of revolutionary creations?
Well, I just did a song called "A Better Tomorrow" with Terry Lyons, and last year it was a series on Kareem Brown called "A Better Tomorrow," and it's showing 6 episodes of that, and just highlighting the fact that people, what you see at the end is as a result of a journey, is as a result of many dimensions. So the next thing on the plate, I won't say it quite yet, but there'll be a second Better Tomorrow series.
Yes.
It's being worked on, similar with people in Pan, telling their story and ensuring the Pan world knows all these dimensions from Ray to the younger ones, and really see that there's so much to offer and so much to learn from each other in this Pan world. So, that is all for a Better Tomorrow, and that's why the series is called that.
All right. Thank you all very much, gentlemen of the highest order when it comes to creativity and the local culture. Ray Holman, Mark Loquan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Having us.